In the pre-dawn quiet of a world that refused to see them as human, a mother named Amina held her children close. Her son, Kofi, just 8, and her daughter, little Amara, only 5. Their world was the suffocating confines of a cotton plantation in the deep south, a place where the air was thick with humidity and despair. But in Amina's arms, they found their universe. She would whisper stories to them, tales of a land across the great water, a place called Africa, where the sun was a friend, and people walked with their heads held high, their spirits unbroken. She spoke of kings and queens, of vibrant markets and music that could make the stars dance. These stories were more than just tales. They were seeds of identity, tiny embers of a freedom they had never known, planted in the fertile ground of their young minds. Kofi, with his serious eyes, would absorb every word, while Amara would trace the patterns on her mother's worn dress, her small fingers a testament to their unbreakable bond. Amina knew the reality they faced. Every sunrise brought with it the threat of the overseer's whip and the soul-crushing labor under a merciless sun. But her love for them was a shield, a silent, powerful force against the daily brutalities. It was a love fierce enough to challenge the very institution that sought to crush them. This fragile peace was shattered one sweltering afternoon. The plantation owner, a man named Master Crawford, had fallen into debt. The whispers spread through the slave quarters like a fever. There would be an auction. Fear, cold and sharp, gripped Amina's heart. An auction meant one thing: separation. Families torn apart at the whim of a white man's finances. The day arrived like a judgment. They were herded like cattle to the auction block in the nearby town. The air was filled with the stench of sweat, fear, and cheap liquor. Amina held her children's hands so tightly her knuckles were white. She tried to shield their eyes from the ugliness, the way men inspected people's teeth and muscles as if they were livestock. Then, the auctioneer's booming voice called her family forward. The moment she dreaded was upon them. Master Crawford, his face impassive, pointed first to her, then to Kofi. A wealthy man from another county made a bid. Then, another man, a brutish-looking trader, gestured toward Amara. The bidding began, a cruel back and forth that treated her daughter like a piece of property. Amina's world narrowed to the sound of those rising numbers. She watched in horror as the gavel fell for Amara, sold to a different master, destined for a different state. Amara screamed for her, her small arms reaching out. Kofi clung to his mother, his body trembling. As the trader's men moved to take Amara, something within Amina broke. A primal roar escaped her lips. She threw herself forward, a lioness protecting her cub. In the ensuing chaos, she was brutally beaten and dragged away, her last sight being her daughter's terrified face disappearing into the crowd. That night, back in her cabin, the physical pain was nothing compared to the gaping wound in her soul. Amara was gone. A part of her had been amputated, and the phantom pain was an agony beyond words. Kofi lay beside her, not crying, but shaking with a silent, terrifying grief. Amina knew she had two choices: surrender to this living death or fight. Gazing at her son, his face streaked with tears in the moonlight, she knew there was no choice at all. She would not lose another child. The seed of an idea, planted long ago by hushed stories of the Underground Railroad, began to sprout. It was a terrifying thought, a gamble with impossibly high stakes. But what was life, if not for her children? She began to listen, to watch. She learned the patterns of the overseer's patrols. She made quiet contact with an old man named Samuel, who worked in the stables. His eyes held a deep wisdom and a sadness that matched her own. One night, he discreetly passed her a small, crudely drawn map, a piece of charcoal, and a chunk of dried meat. His only words were a whisper: "Follow the North Star. God be with you." The map was simple, showing a path through the swamp to a river. From there, it was a question mark. Hope, fragile and terrifying, began to flicker in the darkness of her heart. She had a plan. They waited for a night when the moon was a sliver in the sky, a night when a storm was brewing on the horizon. The wind began to howl, a mournful song that masked the sound of their escape. Amina woke Kofi, his eyes wide with a mixture of fear and understanding. "It is time," she whispered. "We are going to find Amara." She didn't know if that was true, but she needed him to believe it, just as she needed to believe it herself. They slipped out of the cabin and into the churning darkness. The forest was a maze of shadows and menacing shapes. Every rustle of leaves, every snap of a twig sent a jolt of panic through her. Rain began to fall, cold and relentless, turning the ground into a slippery mud that grabbed at their bare feet. Thunder cracked overhead like the overseer's whip, and lightning briefly illuminated the terrifying landscape, revealing gnarled trees that looked like skeletal hands reaching for them. Kofi, though small, was brave. He held onto his mother's hand, his small steps matching hers as best he could. They stumbled through thick underbrush, thorns tearing at their clothes and skin. The sounds of the swamp were all around them, the croaking of frogs, the buzz of insects, and the distant, chilling howl of a wolf. Amina's senses were on high alert. Were those dogs she heard barking in the distance? Or was it just the wind playing tricks on her mind? She clutched the precious map, now damp and fragile, and pushed forward, her only guide the faint, intermittent glimmer of the North Star through the storm clouds. After what felt like an eternity, the dense forest began to thin. Through the sheets of rain, Amina could see the dark, swirling water of the river Samuel had marked on the map. They had made it. Relief washed over her, so potent it almost brought her to her knees. On the riverbank, hidden beneath a cluster of weeping willows, was a small, crudely made raft, just as Samuel had promised. It was little more than a few logs tied together, but to Amina, it was a chariot to freedom. As they scrambled onto the unstable raft, the sound that had been haunting her became undeniable. It wasn't the wind. It was the baying of hounds, closer now, much closer. Panic seized her. They were being hunted. Just as she pushed the raft into the strong current, a group of men on horseback burst through the trees, their lanterns cutting through the darkness. "There they are," a voice shouted. Amina's heart stopped. At the front of the pack was the overseer, and beside him, straining at a leash, was a man she recognized with a jolt of pure terror. He was a notorious slave catcher, a man known for his cruelty and his uncanny ability to track runaways. But what made her blood run cold was the small figure being forced to walk beside him, a rope tied around their waist. As a flash of lightning illuminated the scene, the face was revealed. It was Kofi, her son. She looked down at the raft. The boy beside her, clinging to her, was also Kofi. Her mind fractured. It was impossible. Two Kofis? Who was the boy on the raft with her? The slave catcher smiled, a cruel, knowing grin, as he pointed from the boy on the riverbank to the boy on the raft. The storm raged, the river pulled them forward, and Amina was trapped in an incomprehensible nightmare, a choice no mother could ever imagine. Would you risk everything for your children? Subscribe to our channel for more stories that uncover the hidden depths of history. Let us know your thoughts in the comments, and share this story to keep the past alive. Thank you for watching.